Gracias. Bienvenido a Inmigrantes y aliados, hablando sobre las elecciones 2020. En el episodio de hoy vamos a hablar sobre el candidato vicepresidente Biden y el presidente Trump. Vamos a tratar de proveerle información sobre quiénes son ellos, qué sabemos de ellos, porque yo creo que ninguno sabemos y los conocemos a ellos personalmente, pero sí conocemos parte de su trayectoria y también lo que hacen en público y que todos nosotros podemos reconocer. Algunas cosas buenas, otras cosas malas, pero esperamos que hoy podemos proveerle información que le va a ayudar a usted para poder decidir quién es mejor. Porque de pronto no es perfecto, pero quién es mejor en este momento en la historia que estamos viviendo. Así es que, vamos a comenzar conociendo un poco sobre el vicepresidente Biden y quién es él. Creo que es bueno tratar de conocerlos un poquito más para mirar qué tanta similitud tienen a nosotros. Hay algunas cosas que de pronto nos pueden impactar para nosotros poder tomar una decisión que de pronto puede ser el mejor candidato para nosotros poder elegir como el próximo presidente de los Estados Unidos. Vamos a mirar este clip.
You know, my dad had an expression. He used to say, you know you're a success as a parent when you turn and look at your child and realize they turned out better than you. I was a hell of a success. My son was better than me. And he was better than me in almost every way. The thing about Bo was, from the time another expression my dad had was, never complain and never explain. I never one single time, my word as a Biden, ever heard my child complain. Nothing changed. A couple months before he died, I was at his house, and he said, Dad, sit down. I want to talk to you with Hallie, his wife, an incredible kid. And he said, Dad, I know how much you love me. He said, you got to promise me something. Promise me you're going to be all right. Because no matter what happens, Dad, I'm going to be all right. Promise me. This is a kid who I don't know what it was about him. He had this enormous sense of empathy.
Bueno, ahí tienen un pequeño ejemplo de quién es el vicepresidente Biden y quién posiblemente pueda ser el próximo presidente de los Estados Unidos. Creo que la mayoría que somos padres de familia nos podemos identificar con esas historias. Y ahora vamos a mirar un clip sobre el presidente Trump, quien desde que llegó en oficina a la presidencia siempre ha tratado de utilizar su poder para mirar a las personas mal, para tratar de, hasta cierto punto, de a veces de mirar a las personas de menos. Y yo creo que hay muchos ejemplos que podemos mencionar, pero vamos a ver el siguiente.
The Republican frontrunner at a rally in South Carolina this week appearing to mock a journalist who is disabled.
And now the poor guy, you got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
That reporter, the New York Times' Serge Kovaleski, who has a chronic condition affecting his joints that limits flexibility in his arms. On Thanksgiving, Trump tweeting, I do not know the reporter for the New York Times or what he looks like. I was showing a person groveling to take back a statement made long ago. The New York Times saying, we're outraged that he would ridicule the physical appearance of one of our reporters.
Hay muchas cosas que podríamos hablar de los candidatos en este momento, pero yo creo que, por ejemplo, en el tema de inmigración, que es el que nos apasiona a muchos de nosotros y de hecho es el que nos impacta más directamente. En mi caso, como ya lo he mencionado anteriormente, yo tengo el TPS y por eso estas elecciones son importantes, porque yo personalmente estoy a punto de perder mi estatus migratorio, al menos que un próximo presidente sea electo, alguien que sea más amigable con la migración en general y con muchos de nosotros. Y por eso yo creo que en el tema de inmigración no hay mucho que hablar. Hemos visto bien claro, uno por lo menos trata y ha prometido que va a proteger el programa TPS, que va a proteger el programa del DACA, y en el otro caso tenemos a un presidente que en este mismo momento nos está tratando de quitar el programa, de quitar una protección y poner a miles de personas a riesgo de una deportación. Creo que hay algo que tenemos que hablar y aquí en Inform somos bien claros. Es difícil encontrar el candidato perfecto que va a cumplir con todo lo que a nosotros nos gustaría ver. Siempre vamos a encontrar cosas en las que un candidato puede mejorar. Y por eso yo creo que la invitación es a participar en elegir un nuevo presidente y después a participar en organizarnos para lograr el cambio. Pero algo no podemos negar. Durante los últimos años, de hecho, las plataformas de los candidatos han ido cambiando. Y en estas elecciones, el candidato Biden está presentando una plataforma más amigable a la comunidad inmigrante, más amigable de protección al medio ambiente y muchas otras cosas más que podemos hablar, pero algunas de ellas las vamos a estar discutiendo durante el programa. Así es que por ahora yo creo que ya tiene una introducción de lo que es el programa de hoy y vamos a comenzar con nuestro segmento a descubrir los mitos importantes para usted tener la información que necesita para poder motivarse y salir a votar. Así es que vamos a descubrir unos mitos importantes en el show de hoy.
Hi, welcome to our show Informed, or welcome back if you've been here before. Today, for the segment of Uncovering Myths, we're going to be uncovering 4 of them, and they are that Joe Biden is senile and unfit to run this country, that he is not progressive, that he is just as dangerous for immigrants as Trump is, and that he is just as dangerous in general as Trump is. I myself was a very steadfast Bernie supporter, and now I am a Biden supporter. I'm Ileana.
Hey, my name is Jose Palma. Welcome again. I am a TPS recipient, so I don't have a political party that I can vote for it, but I really understand what's going on with immigration, and I will share some of those things with you all today.
I'm Emily, and I too was a Bernie supporter, and now a Biden supporter.
I'm Edwin. I'm also a TPS recipient, so I don't have a political party, but I am a Biden supporter as well.
Like I mentioned before, we're talking about the differences today between our choices, and we're going to start by talking about the ways in which they talk about other people. And if Edwin could start for us.
Yeah, so Trump's campaign has been pushing the Sleepy Joe thing a lot. I've seen it a lot on commercials, also on like YouTube ads and all over Facebook, saying that Joe Biden has a form of dementia, or that he is sleepy, and they'll show clips of him like doing a speech and messing up his words or just forgetting what he's saying. But this isn't anything really new for Biden, because he's had a stutter his entire life that he's had to deal with. The Trump administration has also been saying things like Joe Biden is not going to run the country. He actually told supporters at a rally in North Carolina that Joe Biden was not going to be running the country, and that other people were going to, and that they were going to put him into a home.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's so dramatic, and it's so petty, and so undignified. It's just middle school bullying, really. Biden has lived his entire life with a stutter that he has had to push through and work through and become a more confident and more eloquent speaker. And the approach that they have taken, the Trump administration, is just that of instilling fear in people and in making Biden seem inferior in any way that would make him feel discouraged. Newsflash, Trump is also in his 70s. Yeah. Okay? So if Biden is sleepy and old, what does that make you, Mr. Trump? Anyway.
And I think it's also, we have to see that this is just the Trump administration. This is just the Trump as candidate. He has been always, talking bad about people, put a nickname to people. So I think it's like, what he's doing is what he always does.
Yeah.
Identify the person that is in disagreement with him, he will attack that person and will put names and things like that, which is, coming from the President of the United States, a leader of the world. Come on, it's like high school or maybe even like kindergarten.
Yeah.
Not even my son will do something like that.
I also think it's ironic that he says things like Biden will just be the figurehead and that other people will kind of speak through him, when Trump literally pulls headlines from Fox News, and they've mirrored up things that Fox says, and then Trump will tweet about it or say it in an official capacity the next day.
Could you remind us too of the reason why it's so unfair that Trump has made fun of Biden so much?
Well, this comes from a guy who pretty much governs through Twitter. and attempts to start world wars through Twitter and ban social media platforms for kids because he gets made fun of on them.
Yeah.
Let's actually take a look at some of the tweets that Trump uses to govern America.
It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
How his Twitter is just like a burn book.
Yeah.
It's just like a Mean Girls burn book. It's just so silly. It's pathetic and it's embarrassing, frankly, as an American. And the point about Castro loving Bernie, sir.
That is unbelievable. Because on the one side, he's talking about communism and everything. On the other side, he's shaking hands with people like Putin or Putin, and Spanish pronunciation, Putin from Russia and also from North Korea.
Yeah.
Like here are some pictures that you can see.
Comes in, he's cocky, he walks, he says hello to Macron, shakes Angela Merkel's hand, and then the president, look, he's like, he bites his lip, he's got, and he does like, a lot of friendships have been made, and this has been in particular a great friendship. So
It's just plain and simple hypocrisy. And I think people should pay attention about that, because on one side he's telling them, I'm with you, let's stop this. On the other side, he's doing completely different thing. So,
Yeah. If we can move forward now. There's the idea that Biden will be just as bad for immigrants in this country as Trump is. And Palma, if you could please walk us through that.
yeah, sure. Let's talk about the myth that Biden will be as bad as Trump. When it comes to immigration, one, I have been in the U.S. for 22 years. Second, I have been a TPS recipient for about 21 years now. I never was at risk of losing my immigration status until now. And people will say, yeah, but Obama deported so many people. It is true. I think we can't deny it. But I think we also have to understand where the country was at that specific moment. If you guys remember, we were right in the middle of the economy was down. And then also there was another agenda about passing the healthcare reform. So in my opinion, and also I have been an organizer for about 11 years when it comes to the immigration, I'm fighting for DREAM Act and some other immigration reforms. Something I know for sure, the Obama administration went in the wrong direction when they start deporting people, believing that by deporting people, they were going to convince the anti-immigrant movement to support a comprehensive immigration reform. It was sad that in the next election, they lost the control of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and everything became what we have at this moment, a divisionism and difficult to pass legislation supporting immigrants. So when it comes to kind of like, will Biden be the same? No. And also, it will depend from you and me and all of us together as a team to avoid the same direction, because one thing is to elect a candidate, and then a second thing is to keep them accountable. So what I will say, Biden will be the same. No, let's make sure we can elect him, but also let's keep him accountable in January 1st. So that's kind of like, my takeaway. And by the way, if you have been watching the news, TPS and DACA recipients are in line of losing their immigration status. So when I ask you to vote for Biden, I am doing it because I have the hope that this candidate will fulfill what he's saying right now, and that you and I and everyone will keep him accountable. That's kind of like what I have to say, guys.
And I think also Biden has been sure to say how he will take certain Obama-era programs and change them to fit what's happening now. One of the, flaws with DACA and TPS is that there was no path to citizenship, and Biden has said that he will provide that in those programs.
Yeah, for right now, he has been saying, look, in the first day of office, I will reinstate DACA and TPS, and I will freeze deportation for the first 90 days in order to have some time to evaluate the immigration system and start thinking about what are those fixes that we're going to do moving forward. So, from knowing that you're going to lose your immigration status to knowing that you will have the opportunity to have a conversation about fixing the immigration system is a big step and a big difference between a guy who really hates us and a person who's willing to talk to us. I think we are clear with the message. We need to elect a new president, and we need to keep him accountable.
Yeah.
Boy, do I have something to say about that. But we'll get back to that. I'll bring myself back to that point. Emily, if you could tell us about the myth stating that Joe Biden is not progressive.
Right, so this is actually something that I think exists within the Democratic Party, that Joe Biden is not progressive. And I think that needs to be clarified because he's not as progressive as Warren and Sanders. But he is far more progressive than Trump has been, could ever be.
Yeah.
And I think Biden's doing that with a lot of different progressive ideas about free education. He is not saying we're going to make education free for everybody, but he is saying things like we will double the amount of Pell Grants. He will allocate certain funds to low income communities. So he's kind of trying to align his platform with progressive ideas, but not, he's not making himself a target for the GOP. And he's doing things like along police reform, he's not saying that he will defund the police, he's saying that he will reallocate those funds and create new training programs.
And what did Trump say about that?
Trump hates the fact that he has not said that he wants to defund the police. And in fact, on Fox News, he was fact-checked on the spot. And Trump has repeatedly said, Biden wants to defund the police. And they said he never said that. And so he's avoided being made into a target. And actually, we have a clip of him being fact-checked on the spot by Fox News.
And Biden wants to defund the police.
Sir, he does not.
Look, he signed a charter with Bernie Sanders. I will get that one, just like I was right on the mortality rate. Did you read the charter that he agreed to?
It says nothing about defunding the police.
Oh, really? It says abolish, it says defund. Let's go.
All right.
Get me the charter, please.
All right. I understand. We still have more than 100 days to this election, but at this point, you're losing.
First of all, I'm not losing because those are fake polls. They were fake in 2016, and now they're even more fake. Pre-existing conditions will always be taken care of by me and Republicans, 100%.
But you've been in office 3.5 years. You don't have a plan.
Well, we haven't had, excuse me.
Can I just say that I live for it? I live for him being dragged on the spot, and he has absolutely nothing to say because you're wrong. And you said with confidence something that was incorrect, expecting that nobody would clock you for it. And then you were clocked, and it was beautiful.
Because what he's trying to do is push Joe Biden so far left so that he appears to be more moderate and more centrist when it's truly the opposite.
Exactly. I wonder how big the book is going to be of all the lies that he has done throughout his presidency. Let's see who's going to make some money for him.
Hopefully a very short presidency.
Yes.
I think we're brought to our last myth, and that is the idea that Biden is just as dangerous for everybody as Trump is. And I would like to say that I understand how frustrating it is. The circumstances under which we've been forced to choose between two candidates who a lot of us don't want. I understand how frustrating that is and how it feels like we don't have a say. But I do want to take this time to explain that a vote for Biden is at its core a vote against Trump. And so I, as a Bernie supporter, and Emily, as a Bernie supporter, we didn't want to see this happen, but the circumstances under which we've been asked to choose between these two candidates, it's very clear to us which one of these candidates is far less dangerous than the other. The recent court ruling has made it so that Trump has the say-so to just revoke legal protection of people who are receiving TPS. And as we've mentioned before, Biden has made it clear that that is something that he plans to protect. That he plans to reestablish and reevaluate the immigration system in the U.S. And so while that is exciting to hear, We also need to remember that if and when he is elected, it doesn't stop there, that we will continue to hold him accountable to protect us and to protect our neighbors. And yes, there are blemishes, very big, heavy blemishes in Biden's past. He did have his foot in the 1994 crime bill, which did lead to the mass incarceration of Black and brown people. I don't align with that, and I don't feel comfortable or safe with that knowledge. But I also believe that if we work together very strongly to push him toward what he claims to believe now, then we have to continue to make sure that he does that.
Yeah, and you know what, Ileana, also something that we have to kind of like recognize is that Biden has been changing during the last few years.
Yeah.
And I think during the last few months even more, because of the work that many people have been doing, organizing and pushing him to the left a little bit more. Are we satisfied? Probably not. Like, I would like to have a comprehensive immigration reform as soon as possible, but we have to be realistic.
Yeah.
During this election, there is no way to get confused on who's better than the other. There is clarity about who Biden is and what he can do and what Trump is doing and what he's going to continue. For example, when it comes to immigration, if Trump continue as president, he will definitely cut TPS, he will definitely cut DACA, and he will go probably even beyond than that, trying to take the citizenship from U.S. citizen that born from undocumented parents. Some people may say that's too much, that's like, actually, if you want it, just check the Sensenbrenner bill that was tried and it was moving in Congress a few years ago. And then Trump has been publicly saying that the only reason why that hasn't happened is because never a case has come to the Supreme Court. And now with the whole issue about the Supreme Court is one more reason to make sure Trump doesn't get elected. So when you're thinking about, oh, no, I'm going to stay home because both are the same, that's not true.
And I think something important you said is that Biden has been changing. And if you are just going to look at, if you're undecided and you're just looking at what Biden has done and what Trump has done, and you don't like some of them, remember that some of the things that you don't like that Biden did was in the 80s. The things you don't like Trump did was yesterday or this morning. And yeah.
And many people talk about, I think usually human reaction is based on what you need. That's the reality.
Yeah.
And some of us react because we are suffering the immigration attack. We are close to lose our immigration status. Some people care about the economy. Let's go back to the Obama administration era. Actually, they are the one who brought back the economy. So some people are talking about the economy. Why some of us as immigrants are suffering and complaining about the Obama administration is because they expend so much political power in passing the Obamacare that they didn't have enough energy to pass all the legislations that were needed at that specific moment. Those are things that we really need to pay attention about.
I think to wrap up all of our thoughts, it is clear to us and to the rest of the world, quite frankly, Trump is a walking, talking, blatant picture of hatred. And he is proudly that. And he invites and incites hatred and violence from other people who have his same views. And if you ask the rest of the world, or us four, Biden isn't that same picture. He has blemishes, of course, and I don't align myself fully with his stances. But he does not symbolize that same hatred and that same ugliness. And so with that, we ask you to stay safe, stay healthy, stay informed, and please vote. I'm Ileana.
And I'm Jose.
I'm Emily.
I'm Edwin.
And we are informed. Thank you for watching. Please come back next week.
The wrap-up. This is our show in 2 minutes. Our show is Informed. Immigrants and Allies talk the 2020 election. Today's show is about Biden and Trump, who they are as politicians and how we can choose between them. Or we call this our Yes But episode. Because yes, we recognize Biden isn't and wasn't many of our first choices for a candidate. But he is a moderately decent person with at least a shred of humanity left in him. And on the other side is a dictator-loving racist with a God complex. Imagine it like this. You're starving to death on an island and someone finally serves you your food. And your choice on one side is raw beets. Blech. But on the other is a bag full of murder hornets. What are you going to choose? The choice is clear. But if you're still undecided, or you're considering sitting this decision out, here are some points to get you to register and show up in November. 1. Trump calls Biden senile or says he has dementia, naming him Sleepy Joe. But in order to get his point across, his campaign literally doctors Biden's images. Yes, Biden is old and he has a stutter, but they're only 3 years apart in age, and Biden doesn't order burgers every night like a frat bro on a budget. Some say Biden isn't a progressive, and they are right in some ways, but all of this is relative because he is much, much, much more progressive than Trump. When it comes to climate, healthcare, women's rights, and immigration, Biden would be pushing the needle on American political discourse back toward the majority, more progressive, which means that he believes in using the resources of the state to ensure equal opportunity for its citizenry. The last and most important point here is that Biden depends on an electorate of progressives to get anything done. That's us. That's immigrants. That's their allies, which means he'll respond to us because he needs us to stay in power. Reportedly, Trump was literally willing to let the blue states die of COVID, and only once he realized it was a red state problem too, he responded. So, the choice is clear. You need to show up this November not biting into a bag of murder hornets, and continue that activism through the next presidency by being informed and engaged. Our activism doesn't stop at the voting booth, but it certainly starts there. So, stay safe, stay healthy, stay informed, and vote. See you next time.
Esperamos que con la información que le hemos proveído el día de hoy, estamos dejando más claras las diferencias entre los dos candidatos. Yo sé y entiendo que posiblemente Biden no es el candidato perfecto y eso perfectamente lo entendemos, pero tenemos una decisión que tomar. Y también entiendo que hay cosas del sistema en los Estados Unidos que deben de ser renovados. Eso también se lo entiendo perfectamente. Pero una de las acciones que usted puede tomar en esa dirección es haciendo sus planes para ir a votar en noviembre 3. Y definitivamente, en mi caso, le pediría que vote por el candidato Biden, quien no es perfecto, pero está tomando pasos de bebé. Pero por lo menos está tomando pasos. Entonces, manténgase saludable, manténgase seguro y manténgase informado.